This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Today, Kate and I are in the studio talking all things siblings. It's a really interesting thing when the children that we love so much and we bond can't get along. And that's what we want to discuss today. How do we nurture their friendships beyond what we have to manage for them? Thanks for joining us for Being Real Parents with me, Anna, and my colleague and buddy,
Kate. We work in the parenting space.
And it's here where we'll talk about our worlds as parents, the good, the not so good, and the hilarious, and mix this with what we know about behaviour and psychology. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Anna. Back here.
Here we are.
Yay.
With the lovely Charlie, who keeps us in line.
We need that.
How's your week going?
Yeah, my week's been good. I've actually been reflecting a little bit on the fact I've heard a few people say recently, I guess working in the parenting space, conversations come up about parenting, right? People want to chat about that.
Oh, yeah, at the barbecue.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed that's come up a bit is people saying that they feel like they're a bit of a failure if they're seeking parenting support. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah, I know. I think we've had past conversations about, that we would seek a personal trainer or...
Yeah, if we wanted to, be better at fitness.
Yeah, for sure. Or, just going to the GP if we've got concern about something about our bodies or whatever.
Yeah.
But yet we're not super keen to seek out parenting support.
That's interesting. That's not dissimilar to the kōrero that I had with Rebecca around that kind of guilt and shame that we impose upon ourselves, because, through parenting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I feel like we're not given any information about how to parent, just people kind of giving us unwanted advice sometimes. But yet we expect that we should be like an expert in this field. Like we should just nail our parenting, even though we don't have any information to do so.
Yeah, but it's weird that we have this odd thing that we think we should be nailing our parenting, but we don't have to nail our overall health.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not nailing either.
Oh, no, I'm not nailing either. No, that's right. Yeah, I know. That's just astounding.
Yeah.
How do we get past that?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think I did have the conversation with a couple of people around, that you would seek support in other areas. And I think that did help people to be like, yeah, actually, you're right. I would get that. I think the personal trainer one people can really relate to.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no stigma with that. Like, that's almost the opposite. It's like I'm doing a really good thing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a PT.
I'm just going to my PT today.
Check me out.
I'm going to my parenting coach today.
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
Yeah. And I see it like if someone's getting support around their parenting, it is just as awesome as going to a PT. Like they want to upskill, they want to be a better parent. How lucky are their tamariki? Like that's a good thing.
It's an investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
In themselves and their children.
Yeah.
And I suppose I should add here is like, what are the benefits you see for the people that you work with, the parents that you work with?
I see a lot of reassurance often that actually what I'm doing is okay.
Yeah.
And trusting in myself.
Yeah.
And maybe making a few tweaks and adding a few strategies can make a real difference to their relationship with their child.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
It's the confidence building, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that, because I think we're, in our parenting, we're often left kind of questioning whether or not we are doing the right things.
Yeah.
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 Even questioning that is good parenting.
Yeah. So true.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Good reflection.
Just some reflections of the week, I guess. That's where I've been at.
Love that. Love that.
You're listening to Being Real Parents with Kate and Anna on Plains FM 96.9.
Cool. So we're here and we're going to talk about siblings because there's this odd thing, isn't there, about, we expect our children to get along and they don't always get along.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah. Definitely comes up heaps, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does, eh? And it's it's crushing, isn't it, as a parent, because you had more than one child in order that they had just always a friend.
Yeah. I had the other one so that you had a buddy, and now you're not acting like that.
And you hate each other.
What's going on?
Well, they act like they hate each other, don't they? But we know that's not the truth. Yeah, cool. So what causes siblings to not get along?
So many things. I think one of a really good place to start for me, and it's something we do in our Tuning Into Kids program, which obviously at Real Parents we have been known to facilitate and use that in our coaching as well. Yeah. And they talk about using child scenarios and adult scenarios, so thinking about an equivalent scenario in an adult situation. And I think the sibling one for me gets me every time. Yeah. Like thinking about what it would be like as an adult equivalent situation to bringing home a sibling. Yeah. And they talk about, say your partner comes home and says, I love you so much that I've decided to have another one of you. And you're going
What's more, they're going to be sleeping in our room while you're in your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to share all your things with them and you're going to cook for them and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you're going to be okay with that. Yeah. And, and you'll love them. You both the same. You'd be like, excuse me, what? I don't know, when I think about that in terms of bringing a sibling home, you're like, oh, okay. It's a great starting point, isn't it?
It's not quite what anyone had in mind, is it?
No.
And then there comes all that other thing, if you think about it from an adult perspective of, no, you have to share the stapler, but Kate gets it first because she's the youngest. So what?
How does that work? I don't want her to. We almost set them up to hate each other.
Yeah. And how we... Oh, this is terrible. But, I mean, what we're talking about here is self-reflection, aren't we? Just reflecting on what we contribute to our children's relationships with each other, And, often parents describe their children into, this is Mary, she's good at maths, and this is Anne, and she's really creative. And it's kind of like... We would never do that in any other setting. No. And then there's also that kind of, it's great that maths is great, being creative is great, but kind of like sometimes as children we place more weight or value on one of those, so... one child might decide that maths is better than creativity or vice versa. And again, it's that setup, isn't it, to having our children dislike the other one.
I want to be the creative one. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Those labels aren't helpful, hey? Yeah. Or she's my quiet one. Yeah. Or she's my good sleeper. She's my good eater. Yeah. All those things, hey? We don't mean anything by it.
Oh, no, we just love them and adore them, and those are traits that we just, think are remarkable about them. Yeah. But it's about thinking about it from their perspective as well.
Yeah, what that means when they hear that.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing is that children are so big, they get to a point where fairness is really important. Like, that's not fair. It's really meaningful for children. Yeah. And so when we are making, one of them hand it over to the little one all the time, or saying, you need to be a good big brother in this, or, just imposing stuff that seems unfair, that, they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
More animosity. I'll just stick that in my animosity memory bank.
Thanks for that.
So I guess that's the contribution, isn't it, that we make to our children, arguing, not able to get along sometimes, not all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, being mindful of what we say and how we potentially add to it.
Yeah, quite. Is there anything else?
I definitely had labels on my list too.
Yeah.
I think even just around attention, which we obviously talk about lots and is something that comes up, and it's something that comes up as an issue sometimes around, trying to split that play between our children as well, so that, we talk in Incredible Years and in a lot of our work about spending that one-on-one time. And when you've got siblings, how challenging that is always a challenge that comes up, hey?
Yeah.
And it might be that we're struggling with one child's behaviour, say, more, and so we're spending more time in that play and positive attention space. And so the other child's like, what is going on here? Where's my playtime? So trying to even equal out that, it's so hard to be able to split. You're just one person.
Yeah. And we do it too when, from my experience, what I've done is I've put one of my, spent more time on their, times tables or something, because I've discovered that that they should be at a different level to what they're at.
Yeah.
And then the other children are watching that going, how come she's getting all that time spent with maths?
Yeah. How do I get myself some of that?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, as a child myself, being so jealous of my sister because she broke her leg.
Yeah. What am I going to do?
I want to break my leg. Like, what?
That's bizarre, right? Super interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So coming through this, I've got on my list things like emotion coaching and talking about how we're feeling and, and noticing when our children might be feeling jealous and just naming that for them. I can see that you might be feeling jealous about that right now, because when we are able to name our emotions, you took the stapler off Georgie. How do you think Georgie might be feeling about that? So developing kind of a real empathy around their kind of their team, because they're a wee team, aren't they?
Yeah, awesome.
I have a friend who's got 4 children and they had them in quick succession. And for a long time it took me ages to know their names because they just talked about them as the team, They were all girls, so they just talked about them as the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they paired them up. So the 2 oldest one were paired with, one of the youngest ones.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting about that was it did promote that kind of sense of team. Like they just did this because they were busy and needed the help. But what I noticed in later years is that the oldest 2, the oldest and the youngest, the ones that they were paired with, had the same kind of mannerisms like you would get from a parent.
Wow.
So cute.
That's real cute.
And they were super tight.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so when we can do that sort of stuff, that's helpful too.
Yeah.
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 We kind of go through stages too sometimes. Hey, I think about my brother and sister, and there's 6 years between me and my sister. So when we were younger, that could be quite challenging. But now, so we're a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Where my brother and I were closer in age. So growing up, we were kind of like the little buddies,
Yeah. I mean, I would hate for, and we do hear this, don't we? It's just like, oh, yeah, I've got a sister, but I don't speak to her. And if that was, if I think about my children and them describing their sisters in that way, it would really hurt me. Like, would tear me up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because, in my mind, they're for and about each other.
Yeah. It's a must.
It's a must.
You don't have a choice.
That's right. Cool. I would also, the other thing that happens often is that families might engage in competitive games like soccer, running, fastest running, that kind of thing. The oldest is always going to win. Just through smarts and, their motor skill ability, and so I think rethinking that sort of thing, if we're into a pattern of playing a lot of competitive games, having a think about how you could team them up, even if it's them against, you or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, set it up for success. Hey?
Yeah, for everybody's success. Because those elders love them.
Make
but the
them
eldest
stronger.
children aren't going to be the smartest for quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then the only other thing that I can think of in here too is to actively teach the conflict resolution skills. So not becoming so involved in pulling the argument apart, but actually supporting them to manage it in a way that's healthy and constructive and, you know, and geared towards building a stronger relationship. Because, you know, we know as adults that if we go into conflict with somebody and we're committed to coming out through it with great outcomes for everybody, then what it does is it deepens the relationship between us all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, and then the same can occur for our kids as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that is a question that does crop up that I've noticed, that people are like, what do I do in the moment? Like when they're actually fighting, like maybe that's physically or maybe that's verbally, however that looks. What do I do in that moment? And it can feel really tricky.
I mean, in the moment, it's kind of too late, isn't it? It's kind of like the moment is here, and it's just sort of managing that. But there's also all that other stuff that you can do about it. You know, yesterday when you had that fight with Henry and you both got really upset.
Yeah.
What do you reckon we could do next time in order that doesn't occur again? Because that really hurt me on the inside.
Yeah. Once we're all back in our kind of frontal cortex is back online and we're able to kind of have that chat. Yeah.
So true. Yeah, the best parenting we do is when things are calm.
Yeah.
But we forget.
And we try to have that conversation in the moment.
Yeah, we do it in the moment when somebody is screaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention us.
Yeah. Everyone's flipped their lids.
Yeah, and I think it's okay too, like, you know, instead of that stuff about, and then she did that, and, you know, you come into a room, there's screaming happening and yelling, and somebody's pointing the finger at another person. And I think it's all right to call that we all have some calm time, like, so we all go into separate places and, you know, do something that's calm for a while until we come back together, rather than deciding who's right and wrong.
Yeah, in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we will never know the truth.
And what it can look like, who's right and wrong, could be completely the opposite.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if somebody is on the ground being punched in that moment, we don't know what happened 5 seconds before that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so my kind of, you know, rule of thumb is that everybody has time out in those moments, not just who looks to be the perpetrator.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a great idea. Something to keep up your sleeve, hey, in those moments. Or maybe we should just all take a chill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because that's how we develop children that just burst into tears when the adult comes in, you know?
Yeah.
Because that worked last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else could we be doing to support our children's relationships, those sibling relationships? What else could we be doing as parents, do you think?
I reckon foster their individual interests.
Yeah.
And, you know, and encourage those, and also, you know, bring the other children in on that too, so that they see each other's unique strengths and qualities as well.
Yeah, cool.
You know, so if Henry's good at ballet, then we all get to support Henry with ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way everyone kind of gets their moment too, hey?
Yeah.
And they're celebrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
that's cool.
The quality time, I think, is important with each of them in whatever way that looks, because that's all about, and I would say quality time together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the little, having little adventures together, going out, exploring, whatever, but then also with individual children as well.
Yeah. I always remember someone talking about having dates with each individual child. So they would obviously work on having that consistent, small chunks of time throughout the week, but then it would be, I think it was once a week, they took turns of having a date with mum or a date with dad.
Oh, that's so cute.
I was like, that's pretty awesome, eh? They got to go out for an hour and do something that they really wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I might do that. I think that's really lovely.
Yeah, it was a cool idea, hey?
Yeah, really nice idea. And then people might just, think this is fingernails down a blackboard. But one of the things that's important to us is our own family connections and relationships. So our children need to see us also having good relationships with others. And if we have them, siblings, their aunts and uncles.
Yeah. So true, modelling that. Hey?
Yeah. And talking about their experiences of growing up together. As well. I just, for some reason, that's not on my notes. I'm just saying that because, one, there's that whānau connection is, eminently important. It really contributes to a child's sense of who they are and who they belong to. But I also think that it's that kind of like, this is the expectation in our family. In our family, we love each other. Yeah, and care for each other and are kind to each other.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. I think that if we manage that,
we're doing good.
Done. Boom. Or come back to those things when we notice things getting out of kilter. Yeah.
Being aware of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So for our 3 top tips today, number 1 is to be careful of the labels that we give our kids. So being mindful of those terms like our calm one, our quiet one, and how we can, just be mindful of when we say these things and how maybe our children are taking this on board. Number 2, promoting a sense of team. So how can we maybe pair our children up, or how can we make them feel like they're part of a team, that they're working together on things? And number 3, thinking about time and attention, which we talk about all the time. So spending that time together as a whānau to build those, those special memories, but also trying to find those opportunities for one-on-one time. We get that can be really hard when you've got multiple children, but how can we find those little moments that we're spending that one-on-one time?
Thank you for tuning in again this week. For anything that we've referred to, head over to the Real Parents website or tune in to our previous episodes of podcasts here at Plains FM. Search for Being Real Parents.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
We hope you've learned that while parenting is challenging sometimes, that's totally normal. It's been fun having you with us. Keep being amazing. Bye!